All right, along the same lines as third-party integration, typically access is shared between companies, okay, versus setting up a combined data center or a colo facility. Now, it's possible you may have some larger joint ventures or some type of larger third-party integration where you actually set up an off-site co-location facility. However, typically this is going to be some type of integration with the systems themselves. So we may place some equipment in their data centers or their data closets, or they may place some infrastructure into our data centers. Okay, so when that happens, we need to make sure that we have connectivity concerns at the forefront of our thought process. All right, so are we going to set up a site-to-site VPN? And if so, are we going to have or make sure that we have a defined, I should say, an agreement on the types of encryption, how often the passwords change, the password strength, things along those lines. Are we using some type of enterprise radius connectivity, or are we using a shared secret? It just depends upon, obviously, the situation, but it needs to be documented and it needs to be agreed upon by both businesses or both organizations. Also, whether it's cloud storage or infrastructure. Are we going to be placing information or infrastructure rather in each other's data centers, or are we going to be storing it in a cloud facility, perhaps a multi-tenant situation where we both have access to some type of cloud-based storage? And again, as we talked about previously, cloud-based or virtualized infrastructure has its own set of security limitations as well. And then we want to make sure we define and we think about data usage, right? We need to ensure that the data is secure. And that means when we're going through our process of writing up this documentation and the agreements that are put in place, we need to define what data can be made public or relayed to outside sources, and then what cannot. Okay, so we have to have an acceptable use policy so that on the other side of the coin or the other side of the equation, they understand what they can and can't use of our data, and vice versa. We need to make sure that we understand what we can use of their data, so that way it leaves no room for interpretation, and it reduces litigation, it reduces data breaches, and of course increases security.